The triangle is like the anchor. So there's two things with guiding clients. Number one, very much like you would guide a client in an exercise session if you're first introducing yourself to that client, you always go off the premise that it's their body, they're in control, you'll give them the guides or the guidelines, and then they will basically set the pace for the session. So the triangle is always the anchor, and there is never a time that a client can't just stop and start into triangles. Like, no matter what you're doing, if you give them 30 seconds of circles and within the first 5 seconds they're like, whoa, no, this is too much for me, you always guide them to, hey, if it feels like it's too much, you go straight to triangles. And because that ultimately that's where you want them to go in everyday life, is the triangle. That's what you give them, so that they've always got that as an anchor. You say to them, if you're somewhere where you're starting to feel overwhelmed or whatever, just think about that triangle with that little tiny pause at the bottom, breathing through your nose. If you're in a really tough conversation where you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're presenting or something like that, then the triangle breath is the way to go. So that's the recommendation that you make. And as you just experienced then, you can see that people with only a small amount of guidance will be able to recognize, oh, hey, I can already feel that my body chemistry is starting to shift, that I start to feel in a little bit of an altered state. So
it gave me the opportunity to ask the question. Well, part of my mind asked the question, am I safe? Yes, I am. So I was able to continue on and push the boundaries, so to speak. But I'm guessing people that are quick to get into a heightened state of anxiety, they want to drop back to that anchor pretty quick once they start recognizing those symptoms, right?
Absolutely. And Leanne, think about it, as I said before, think about this like weightlifting for their nervous system. The more that they trust that natural reflex in the body, the more resilience it builds in the organism, right? So, and that's really what we're going for. We're going for a resilient, strong nervous system. The nervous system is governed by this exchange of gases in the body. The nervous system is sending messages to the brain all the time. And, quite often it's sending red alert messages quite often when there's, sometimes there's no red alert.
Yeah, that's
right. And so what we're doing is we're getting it to tone itself so that you have less of that. We often find, are you chiro or a body worker of some?
I'm a body worker, soft tissue therapist.
I can tell by all the pictures in the background. So what we've often found is people that work with the body, introducing this to their clients, they find that whatever modality you're working with your clients, so if you're a physio, quite often their pain thresholds start to come down. If you've got people that are quite often stiff or come in with constant sort of skeletal-muscular problems, they start to resolve themselves because they're starting to actually get more oxygen into the tissues, which is why this is just it's a really important and underrated sort of process that we found in this area.
Thank you.